Hey everyone, I'm here to go over today's assignment 7.6, Practice A, the odd questions. In an earlier video, I set up questions 1 and 3 for you. What I've done here is set up 5 and 7, and then what I'm going to do is show you my answer key, which is like written on a sheet of paper. And what I'll have you do is just pause the video at that point so you can go through and kind of self-correct the different graphing questions. Okay, and then we'll talk more in depth about the other questions later. I hope that makes sense. As always, you're always welcome to pause whenever you need to. Okay, so in 1 and 3, we talked about how you want to isolate the variable. We would want to add 9 to both sides here, leaving you with n is greater than or equal to 11. In number 3, you're going to be subtracting 1/4 from each of the sides to isolate p, leaving you with p is less than 4/4 or p is less than 1 because 4/4 is 1. In 5 and 7, it's more of the same. Here we would be getting rid of the 15. We would want to subtract 15 from both sides, leaving you with 5 is less than k. If we were to read it backwards, k is greater than 5. And then in number 7, we would be adding 8 to each side to give us 20 is greater than or equal to h. So what I'm going to do right now, best as I can, is I'm going to show you my answer key, which shows both the isolating and the graphing for questions 1 through 11 odd. Okay, so remember, just pause the video. You can go through and self-check your answers. Okay. Okay, so why don't you just click pause now. All right. So that brings us to questions 13 and 15. Sorry, that's kind of loud. Which want you to do this translating, right? It gives you the word sentence, and you need to write the inequality that is being represented. So in number 13, it says, 6 more than a number is at most 10. 6 more than a number, we don't know. So that's going to be our variable. And more than would indicate that we would be adding. Okay, so we would have 6 more than, it doesn't matter what variable, something, n, x, whatever, is at most 10. So I know I'm comparing this to 10. It's just deciding what symbol goes there. So it's at most 10. 10 is the biggest it can be. It could be 10. It could be less than 10. It cannot be bigger than 10 at most. Okay, so we talked last week that astronaut example, right? So at most 10, which means this symbol, less than or equal to, would go in between the two. Okay? In number 15, it says that 0.6 is no less than 2.4 subtracted from a number. Subtracted from a number. The number we don't know, that's our variable, but 2.4 is being subtracted away. So we have to start with that variable, subtract 2.4, and we have 0.6 being compared to this. 0.6 is no less than 2.4 subtracted from the variable. No less than. This cannot be less than. It can be bigger. It can be equal. It cannot be less than. Okay, so I'm going to put this symbol in between the two. Okay, in question number 17, that was your error analysis question. They added 4 to both sides, which is exactly what they should have done to isolate that variable, but unfortunately in their answer, they flipped the inequality sign. So I'm going to be honest, it took me a minute to look. I'm like, wait, what's the problem? They did it right, but they flipped the sign. We don't want to flip the sign. Then it's changing the integrity of the inequality, okay? In number 19, it's talking about you buying some items. You have at most $10. $10 is the maximum amount you can spend. If you buy a book that is $6.75, write an inequality to represent what the cost of your drink could be. Okay, so what I have written here, let's see how I can do this. What I have written here is you can tell I need a manicure. All the nail salons are closed. Oh my goodness. 10 is the most that you can spend. The book is $6.75. The drink is an unknown cost, but we know that together they cannot be more than $10. Okay, so 10 is the biggest it can be. In order to isolate the variable, D, which is the drink, I would subtract $6.75 from both sides. I end up getting that $3.25 is the most my drink can cost. It can be $3.25, it can be less than $3.25, but it cannot exceed that. Wouldn't be able to afford it if I did. And then the last question, number 21, is talking about ticket sales. An auditorium can hold at most 480 people. 185 advance tickets were sold. Write an inequality that represents how many more tickets could be sold. So again, I'm going to kind of put this up here. We've got, oh my gosh, this whole reverse thing is really throwing me off. Oh my God. Here we go. We've got at most 480. The advance tickets are 185. It would be adding any other people. So in order to isolate, we would subtract 185 from both sides to get that P, the additional tickets, the additional people, cannot be bigger than 295. Hopefully that made sense. Sorry, everything's reversed, so I move it one way, but it's moving the wrong way. Maybe I'll get the hang of it soon. As always, you can always rewind, you can always pause, you can always rewatch this, and hopefully that clarified some questions or concerns. We'll have more practice with this tomorrow. Remember, it's just day one, so I don't expect you to be an expert. And as always, email me with any questions. Talk to you soon.